Welcome to Prescribing Lifestyle, the podcast that's all about empowering you to live your healthiest, happiest life. I'm your host, Dr. Avi Charlton, and each week we'll dive into the latest research, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you optimize your well-being. From nutrition and fitness to mental health and mindfulness, we'll explore every aspect of lifestyle medicine, giving you the tools you need to make informed decisions and take control of your health. Whether you're looking into preventing disease, managing chronic conditions, or simply elevate your quality of life, Prescribing Lifestyle is here to guide you on your journey to wellness. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on this transformative adventure towards a healthier, happier you. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I have Alex McDonald, who is the founder of Keto Marathons. He is age 42, and he's ran 5 marathons, actually more, according to him, in the recent days. He ran 5 marathons in 5 days. That was last year, fasted or doing keto. And he's recently run a backyard ultra, which I'll get him to talk about as well. Welcome to the podcast, Alex.
Oh, thank you, Avi. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. I'll get you to start off with introducing yourself and what got you started in your keto low carb journey.
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, my biggest thing recently was completing my 5 marathons in 5 days, completely fasted, which sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I'm a lunatic. But the reason I did it was not because I'm a runner whatsoever. So people hear what I did and they think, right, you're an athlete and that's where you've come from. It wasn't that at all.
Yeah.
I've never done a marathon before doing my 5 in a row. So to sort of put that in perspective. But the reason I did it, I came from the nutrition side because as you mentioned, keto is the world that I've been living in for a very long time now. So I call it low carb originally and then keto for probably close to 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
Along that journey, what I learned was that when you are adhering to a ketogenic lifestyle, your body's metabolism can become very efficient at using fat for energy. So once I learned that, it was like, right, how much energy is actually on our body? So on me, I kind of ran the numbers and I dug into the science a bit. And on me, I'd figured out that I had more than 22 marathons worth of energy stored on my body. So I'm pretty lean, right? Kind of see.
Yes,
I'm
you
about
look very lean.
15%, which puts me in the top 3% for my age for, we'll call it leanness for males in Australia. And so I figured, look, if I've got enough energy on me for 22 marathons, surely I can do 5. So that's where we came from 5. And the reason for fasting was just to rule out any possibility I was getting my energy from anywhere other than from my body's store of energy. So 5 marathons, that's 211 kilometers, 212 I did because you want to make sure you don't kind of run short a marathon any day. But so it was an extraordinary journey, but definitely from the nutrition side. So first of all, call it fat adapted, and thank you to keto and the keto lifestyle. It's called unlocked that amount of energy for me, and doing marathons is just a way to demonstrate that.
Wow, that's amazing. So you've been keto low carb for over 10 years. What got you into this space in the first place?
For the starting point was, first of all, I've just got a very inquisitive mind. So I came across an outlier, a guy by the name of Art Devaney, who is at the time was in his 70s, or it might have been late 60s. It was a long time ago now. But the guy was crushing it. He was had the blood markers of a 30-year-old. He was stronger and fitter than most 30-year-olds or people half his age. So when I'd heard his story, I thought, you know what? Like if he's doing that, I'd love to be, when I'm at that age, or call it even beyond in my twilight years, still have the functional ability and still living, life to the fullest, just like he is. So that's where I started. I looked into what he was doing, and he was really just taking the evolutionary approach, basically saying, if it didn't exist 20,000 years ago, don't eat it. And then on top of that, lift heavy things and move your body and just keep active. So I thought, you know what? What does that mean? It means like ditching the grains, ditching all the processed sort of junk that we eat these days, sticking to whole foods, and definitely cranking up the fat and protein. But there was lots of leafy greens in that stage as well.
Okay.
So I thought, right, I'll give that a go and see how I feel. Maybe I'll feel a little bit better. And after 1 month of doing that, I felt 10,000 times better. It was the change was that enormous. I was like, oh my goodness, this has changed my life, and I need to understand why. So that
But
was.
you're only young then. You're only in the 30s.
Yeah, that's right. I was young, very young, and
you didn't have a health journey yourself.
No, I didn't come from a place of trying to cure an ailment or some illness or some sickness. It was just my curious mind that sort of went, okay, let's do this. But I also had my entire goal was around that longevity card. Because I'm a believer that it's a lot easier to do the pre-work than it is to do the rehab. So I can do the work early and maintain, call it a quality of life as long as I can. It means that if I'm fit and healthy when I'm 80, it means come back every year between then and now, I'm also fit and healthy. So it means I've lived a great life and a quality life. So for me, that was in my entire goal.
Right. So 10 years of low carb keto, and you've been feeling good since?
Absolutely. So the life-changing moment of that 1 month of doing it, I say it was like I was living in a fog and I wake up with a daily hangover. It was the difference between what life was like before and what it was after. I mean, the difference was that stark, and I'm sure some of you listeners a similar experience of once you cut out all those sort of junk foods and eat clean, and just how good you feel. So it's been a long time from there. And from then it's been an evolving process around, okay, if I manage to feel that good by doing just some simple changes, one, understand why, and what's sort of some of the science behind that as to how all this works. And the other part was, well, what's the next thing I can do? How can I get the most out of it? And how can I continue to just feel better? Because I have to say, feeling amazing is addictive. It's like, right, I want to do more, and what else can I do? And then once I started feeling good, you tell the world about it. Look, I've got so much energy. I'm telling you, this is amazing. And everyone's like, no, I don't believe you. Like, it's not real. So, again, that played into my whole 5 marathons thing, which was, look, I'll demonstrate just how much energy I do have. And,
Great.
I'll crank out 5 marathons to show you.
That's amazing. So how did you come about doing 5 marathons?
So like I said, my base case was that, look, I've been in the keto space for a long time, and I had been fat adapted. Once I learned the concept around being fat adapted and the amount of energy that we would be able to unlock, when I'd read the papers and I'd read, some of the textbooks on that, it was like, okay, hang on, this is what I've been doing for 10 years. Like, I'm already adapted. So then it became, okay, well, how can I demonstrate that amount of energy? So look, and I'm not a runner. I only chose marathons because a marathon is a very understandable numeraire for anyone to appreciate effort. So everyone knows how long and how hard it is. So I could have done anything in terms of cycling but basically running was in my wheelhouse. Running, even / walking, just moving, and anyone can do it. But my real inspiration, once I had that piece nailed, it came from a doctor in the UK, Dr. Ian Lake. So I'm not sure if you've come across him, but he's an incredible guy. As a type 1 diabetic, he's done some amazing work there. But he he planted the seed for me, because in 2020, he and 7 others he called it his 0500 project.
I've heard of that, yes.
And it was... they did 100 miles in 5 days, completely fasted. He had, amongst the 8 of them, there were he was in his mid-50s at the time, a type 1 diabetic. He had another woman a similar age that was also a type 1 diabetic. And then at the other end, at the other end of that spectrum, he had even an ex-Olympic athlete, an ex-Olympic rower. And all of them were fat adapted, and they all did it. They all managed to do these 100 days purely on salt and water. And I thought, that is so cool. So I reached out to him. I said, Ian, talk me through it. How hard is it? And what was it like? He said, look, you'll love it. It was fantastic. The fasting was easy. The energy part was easy, but there were some parts that were hard, and we can talk about what they were. But the bits that everyone think was hard, it definitely wasn't. But a big shout out to Dr. Ian Lake, because without him being the pioneer there and doing what he did and demonstrating that, and in the way that he did, that was what led me to do my 5 marathons. And I chose 5
Wow.
because 5 in 5 days sounds cool. Like it's
It does. Absolutely does. It sounds amazing. So what sort of exercise did you used to do before you did this marathon?
Yeah, I hadn't run, so call it back in 2012. So that's sort of 10 or 12 years ago was the last time I actually did any running. So
Okay.
I did a half marathon back then and I trained for it, really enjoyed it. But, I've got young kids and the time it takes to prepare for marathons and being on the road all the time, like any parent would understand that with little
Yep.
kids.
Yep.
My kids were pretty little back then, so I hadn't run for sort of 10 or 12 years. During that
Okay.
time, I did keep fit. So I did do, I fell in love with calisthenics. So calisthenics is, for those that don't know, it's like push-ups, pull-ups, it's all body weights. It's just sort of moving your body functionally.
Okay.
But it's much around the physical aspect of strength. A lot of it is mobility. So there's a lot of, call it like yoga sort of stretching and that sort of stuff. So again, playing into my longevity card of being able to move, function, and still be, as able as I can be into my twilight years. So fell in love with that, and I felt like a bit of a superpower because you don't look like you're big jack muscle man or anything like that. It's got nothing to do with it. It's just about being strong and you're having a really strong core. So I loved kind of the stealth element of calisthenics too.
Okay. Is that the only thing you did before you ran the marathons?
So training for the marathons was a different thing. So that was my sort of regular routine for sort of the 10 years prior. But then coming into it, once I decided to run a marathon, so I decided to do all these 5 marathons, and then I went, okay, I better train. I hadn't run a kilometer.
How long did you train for?
I gave myself a year to prepare with the idea of, look, I was literally starting from scratch. So my very first training run, I ran for 2 kilometers and I pulled my calf muscle. I was like,
no. Yeah.
This is going to be tough. So I'd already committed to doing 5 marathons at that stage and I couldn't get through 2.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
This is a bit of a battle. So, so I gave myself a year, but within there I kept pulling muscles and I was kept, I hadn't earned the right to be a runner, so to speak, or to run that far. So there was a lot of learning going on, which was a lot of time spent recovering after I'd pushed myself too hard. And
right. Yep.
Part of that, becoming an old man sort of syndrome too. You think you're better than you are, but
not old at all.
Life teaches you a different perspective.
So you've trained for about a year and putting running, like how many times a week would you run?
Yeah, so my running was, look, I started, call it my 2 kilometer first run, and then I'd sort of work my way up to sort of 5-10 kilometers a week. And then by the end, once I got to the pointy end of it, I was doing somewhere between sort of 60 up to about 80 kilometers a week. I think I might have a 100 kilometer week in there.
Wow.
6 hours.
Yeah.
Really escalated. But my training was not your typical marathon training. And again, I was making it up as I went. I didn't do any speed work. It was just time on the legs because I figured my objective was cover the distance, not to set any records for time. Because again, I was most worried about pulling a muscle or having an injury. So it was keep it low and slow, run to a heart rate of zone 2, sort of low heart rate where I could.
Yeah.
Which would minimize my risk of injury in training and particularly in the event. I was terrified of blowing a muscle that would prevent me from achieving my objective.
Yeah.
More worried about that than ever running out of energy, that's for sure.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Just to put things into perspective, I ran my first marathon in 2019 and I had been a runner for about 4 years prior to that. So running 5Ks a week and then building up to 4 years down the track before I ran my first marathon. And then I ran another marathon 2 years after that, training 3 times a week or 4 times a week by then. So yeah, 1 year after starting running, that's actually really short training for running 5 marathons.
Believe me, I realized that after day 1. I was like, oh my God, a marathon is a very, very long way.
It is.
Or more after even just my first.
Right. And what did you do to prepare for it? I know you saw a few specialists.
Yeah, that's right. So, look, I had the principles nailed around being fat adapted, but what I wanted to do was make sure I had the right people in my camp that I could just check to make sure I hadn't missed anything. So, my team of like rock star advisors, as I call them. So Dr. Ian Lake was obviously in there, given he had done it. I had my dietitian, Dr. Jessica Turton, that was helping me from the diet side, which she's done a lot of stuff for me over the years, me being a client of hers or patient of hers.
Oh, okay.
And I also had Dr. Paul Mason, who some of your listeners may know, but he's very big in the carb world. So I didn't actually know Paul before any of this. I just reached out to him and said, look, Paul, I'm crazy enough to do 5 marathons fasted. And look, are you interested? Because what I want to do is track everything that I possibly can. So tracking all my bloods and tracking, body composition, all this stuff, and we can get to all of that. So I said, look, I'm doing it regardless, but if you want to be involved, I'd love to share all my data with you and you can see what happens, because there's a lot of theory what happens to someone's body when they do this, but you can now see it. So he was like, yeah, this is fantastic. Love it. Happy. So having him in my camp was awesome, because he helped me out with a few little things around, managing electrolytes and, just having him supporting me and provide that information. But more than anything, provide me the confidence that, look, you haven't missed anything and I am on the right path here, and hearing from them that, yes, it's absolutely possible what I was attempting to do. So, there were a few other guys, a couple of other doctors, some other athletes as well, that were in my camp helping me out. But mainly it was just sort of pick their brains to see about what have I missed and what can they help me out with. But, Wow.
So you trained for a year. Did you do anything else than running?
No, most of it was running. Look, and if I did it all again, I would absolutely do strength training, because I found out in terms of like when you're running for that long and for that, but like the amount of time and that distance, when your body is weak in certain areas, other parts of your body will compensate, and call it the wrong muscles are doing the work that the other ones should do because they're not strong enough. And that's fine over shorter distances, but you would know even over a marathon, it's kind of about that 35-kilometer mark. I think most people kind of realize where they're deficient in any strength area. So had I done it all again, I would definitely concentrate more on the strength, a lot more into that, just to make my legs more bulletproof, because, there were some painful moments through those 5 marathons.
Yeah. You didn't keep going with your calisthenics when you're training for running?
Oh, I didn't have the time anymore, because, once you're sort of doing sort of that 60 to 100 kilometers a week, it's a lot of hours in the day.
Yeah.
Again, having young kids too, trying to find the time in the day, because I work full time too. Right, I need to run for 2 hours, so that means the kids get up at 6, so I'm out the door at 4. So I'll run.
Oh, wow. How old are your kids?
They're older now, 15, 13 and 10 they are. So
same as my kids. My kids are 12 and 15.
Yeah, so a fun age, but they're at the age where I can be active and do plenty of things with them too, which is, we call it, I'm cashing in all the work I've done over the last 10 years. And I'm still able to function and move and run and do all that stuff.
Okay. And what do you do as a job?
So I'm actually in finance, so nothing to do with nutrition, nothing to do with call it athletics or any athletic endeavor, but my job does lend itself to managing data and playing around with sort of statistics and numbers. So that has played into definitely what I did around sort of, I'm a bit of a data nerd. So capturing all the data with my 5 marathons was actually quite a fun experience for me too, of playing around with that too.
Wow. Well, tell us about the marathons. Let's get into how you felt during the marathons.
Yeah, sure thing. So let me just paint a picture. So I did 5 in 5 days, right? So the 5th marathon I did was the official Sydney Marathon. Now, I'd love to have done official events for all 5 of those, but there's just no way you can do sort of back-to-back consecutive days official events. So I finished with the 5th being the official Sydney Marathon, and then I backfilled the 4 prior, which was running a course here in Sydney, which was around the Regatta Centre where the Olympics were held for the rowing in 2000. So they actually run the Western Sydney Marathon around that course. So that was very convenient for me. So running around there, which was actually a marathon course, was quite nice. So the first 4 I did around that course. Now, I like to say, like, if you were to picture like running marathons, picture like a Tour de France team, and you picture like your support team and crowds cheering, all that sort of stuff. Me, I was like the complete opposite of that. It was just me running loops around my car, right? So it was, there was no fanfare, that's for sure. So the first marathon was, it was going pretty well until, like I said, that 35-kilometer mark, when sort of the pain started my ligaments and tendons just started screaming at me. It was like, okay, this is really starting to hurt. So, and the other thing, look, I did it in September, and ordinarily it's a pretty comfortable temperature that time of year. It's not too hot, sort of mid-20s. Now, for whatever reason, it was a heat wave in Sydney. So it was on that very first day, well above 34 degrees, and got hotter through those 5 days. So that added another element to the whole thing. But I say I prayed for no rain, but I did too good a job. Clearly, it was hot.
Oh my God. Wow. So how long did it take?
So my first marathon, so each marathon, I didn't run for any particular time. It was like just get through what I needed to get through and not injure myself. So I was very, very slow. So I did my first marathon, I did in about 5.5 hours. And then each marathon after that was a bit, sort of around the 6 hour mark. And my final marathon was the second fastest of all my marathons, actually. So, but by then, my body was very broken by the final marathon. So the things that were holding me back were definitely not, call it energy. It was my final 2 marathons. I had 2 sprained ankles for both of those. So,
oh no.
Yeah, which I just wore them out, to be honest.
Okay.
So my ligaments, my knees, my hips, everything was hurting. So I was hobbling like an old man because my body was broken.
Wow.
So trying to move and just keep going was quite a struggle. But for me, my clear objective from the start was cover the distance because much the same as, Dr. Ian Lake had done, it wasn't about running fast marathons whatsoever. It was just, let's see how far we can go and just demonstrate just how much energy, because the theory is, well, you're going to run out of energy. So as long as I don't run out of energy, then I've achieved my objective.
Wow. And each of the marathon, you just kept going. Did you sit down at all?
No, I didn't sit down. I would start and then continue going. So I might have a little break where I'd stop and, have some water, or I definitely had a lot of electrolytes along the way in the form of salt tablets.
Yep.
And I would have some salt water drink bottles as well. So I might have a very brief sort of break with that. But because I wasn't running fast, my lungs weren't really burning. I wasn't that pushing myself like that. So I didn't have to stop and recover. I genuinely didn't feel tired at all. It was more just, this is a long time. My legs are hurting and I just want to have a break. So any break I had was just extend the amount of time that I would have on my legs each time. So
but it's like a run walk strategy.
Definitely. Yeah. So I tried to manage my heart rate. So for me, a zone 2 heart rate was about sort of 140 beats per minute or below. Yep. So I would run until I'd hit that level. And if it sort of crept away on me, then I would back it off and I would walk for a bit until it came back down. If it got back down, then I would go again. But if it didn't come back down, well, I just have to keep going at a slow pace just to maintain that that level. So it was very much strategic, but it was actually quite a liberating way to do it because when you're running, trying to hit a time, it's like, right, if it's hurting, then I'm doing the right thing, like I'm pushing myself.
Yes.
This way there was no pain, there was no hurt from, there was no push, so to speak, in terms of trying to run fast. It was just, look, I have to run to my heart rate and I can't control that to a degree. I can't just say go lower and it will. I have to back off. That's the only way I could do it. So it was run when I could, and then if it was getting away on me, then I would back it off each time.
Wow. And you filled with electrolytes, salt and water. Did you have anything else to fuel yourself? Food at all?
No, that was it. So when I say I did it fasted, I wasn't as though I was fasting for each individual marathon. It was just picture a 5-day fast where you have nothing but salt and water. So my final meal was, call it on a Tuesday night. Then I ran a marathon on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then my next meal was the evening of Sunday after that final marathon. So the only thing I had was pure electrolytes. So literally salt. I supplemented with some potassium, magnesium, and calcium as well, which I would do throughout the day. It wasn't just while I was running. It would be of an evening. Then I would want to top up and reload on my electrolytes.
Yep.
And then just manage water. So
wow. How long did it take you to recover from those 5 days?
Well, there's two things to that. The recovery during it too. I thought each night I'm going to sleep like a baby. I'm going to be exhausted and we're going to be good. Now the reality was the complete opposite. I was totally tired and I couldn't sleep. So I didn't get sleep during that week, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
And then afterwards, so I had, surprisingly, there were a couple of things. One, I didn't have any muscle soreness like the big muscles. Like, often if people say they run a marathon, they can't walk downstairs anymore, or, everything
Yes.
just really hurts. I had
Yeah.
none of that whatsoever. So part of that was, look, I wasn't sprinting the whole thing, but also I think it speaks to, well, the low inflammation that I would have had just in some of those in the larger muscles. The bits
Okay.
that did hurt were my ligaments and tendons because I just totally wore them out. They're just not used to
Wow.
doing that amount of volume.
Okay.
And like I said, because of the workload I'd put my ankles through, I ended up with grade 2 sprained ankles by the end. So in my last two marathons, I had sprained ankles going into them. So recovery was difficult from that point of view, and the recovery takes as long as you would expect sprained ankles to take. So it was sort of that 6 to 8 weeks of just not doing much and allowing those wounds to heal, so to speak. So that was a difficult part. Was just having worn out my body, just sort of going, okay, have I actually broken anything here? Are we going to get back to normal? But call it within a month or 6 weeks, I felt right as rain, and I felt like I could run again.
Oh, good. Oh, that's totally amazing. I love the journey. Yeah. So there was another year before you did your backyard ultra?
Yeah, that's right. So I did one. It was about a month ago now. In what was that? 5th of October it was. So I did the Sydney Backyard Ultra. Now let me just explain what a backyard ultra is for those that don't understand, because it does sound like you're just running literally around your backyard. But a backyard ultra is a particular format of ultra marathon. So the format is you on the hour every hour. So it's an actual event. There were 270 starters in this event. On the hour, every hour, each runner must complete a loop of 6.7 kilometers in that hour. So you've got a start line and you come back to the start line again. Now, the trick is there's actually no finish line whatsoever. So on the hour, again, next hour, you go again, and the last person to give up is the one that wins the race. And the distance they cover is defined to be the distance of the race. Everyone else gets a DNF, which is kind of a bit of a badge of honor. Where did you DNF? Yes, did not finish. So it's pretty crazy. So 6.7 kilometers in an hour isn't a difficult pace to maintain, but they say it's really easy until it gets really hard, because as you keep going through time, if you do your loop in 40 minutes, then you'll have 20 minutes to sit and recover. If you do it in 59 minutes, you've got 1 minute to turn around and go again. So if you need a drink, you need to change your shoes or do anything that you need to do, you must do your loop fast enough to be able to allow yourself enough time to do that. So, but really cool event, because unlike lots of ultra marathons where the really fast guys take off and then you never see them again, every hour everyone's lining up again and you're all side by side and there's a big party atmosphere, and it was super fun. So I really, really enjoyed that. So this one I did again as another demonstration of doing it completely fasted. So I had nothing but water and salt. Having never run, call it more than one marathon in a day, I managed to do 15 loops in 15 hours, which meant that I clocked up 100 kilometers. So
wow, that's amazing.
I've done completely fasted. So I was very proud to say that of the 270 starters, 210 of them dropped out before I did. So it was also pretty cool to be able to last that long, get through the field that far, given the strategy. And the reason I pulled out again was my knee was shot, and it was causing me a lot of grief. So but I highly recommend, if anyone wants to do a backyard ultra, it's a very cool format. You don't have to be particularly fast or quick to be able to do it. It's just kind of have no off switch and just keep going. So
we do have it in Melbourne. I've heard of it, but I've just never got around to participating in one.
Well, look, and this will blow your mind. So the world record for it, which is astounding, I did 15 hours and I'm very proud of that, 100 kilometers. The world record, which was just set about 2 weeks ago, was done by three Belgian guys that did 110 hours.
Oh my God.
It's almost 5 full days. So those guys are running their loops, and they're also factoring in to run fast enough to have a 10-minute sleep in between their loops, because they're running for that long, amongst all the food and all the other things. So absolutely insane. But
wow, that's amazing. Cool. So they will eat and sleep in between.
Yes.
5 days of continuous running, and not much sleep at all.
No, that's it. On the hour, every hour, all they have to do is complete that loop. So
Oh
It's
my God.
it's a
Absolutely
crazy thing,
hard.
but it's fun.
Yeah. Would you do it again?
Absolutely, I would. And look, before all this, I'd never done marathons before, but I now understand completely why people do them.
Yeah.
And so it's not to win the medal, it's not to
Mm-hmm.
be to kind of win. Some of them
Yeah.
obviously do, but the
Yeah.
vast majority, it's just about doing something that pushes you.
Mm.
And I can guarantee every single person in any marathon race, ultra marathon, any of those, will have
Yeah.
certain moments in there where you want to give up and your body is screaming at you and everything's saying, this is too hard, stop doing it, tap out, like you've had enough.
Yeah.
And you have a choice. And your choice is listen to that or choose not to and finish the race. And when you make that choice of not giving in, you remember that choice for like the rest of your life because it sticks
Yeah.
with you. But the pain you feel at the time, you'll forget about it in a week. So I'm a very
Yeah.
big believer of it's a huge accomplishment for anyone to complete a marathon because what that actually means is they've chosen to not give in when everything was telling them to give up because it was too hard. And so that's why hats off to anyone that's been able to do just a single marathon
Yeah. Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
that is it's a genuine accomplishment and a genuine
Mm.
feeling of satisfaction when you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. My first marathon was 2019, and then I set my second marathon to try and beat that time of 4 hours and 15 minutes. But my second marathon, it got warm and the training was prolonged because of COVID. So I had to walk a bit and rather than run the whole thing. So I had to change my strategy to try and just enjoy the rest of the run walk at the end of the second marathon. And I clocked up almost 5 hours
Yeah,
rather than trying to beat the first one that I was hoping to.
yeah.
Then I must tell you, the third marathon was actually a Oxfam 100-kilometer walk. And that walk took us 34 hours continuous, no sleep.
Wow, that's brutal. It's a whole different game. It's like even
Yes.
marathon, particularly those ultra marathons, what they are actually is a problem solving exercise because everything's
Yeah.
wrong and you never know what it is, but you're gonna have to figure out a way. So that's
Yeah. Yeah.
incredible that you've done that one for sure.
The 34 hours, no sleep. I think the no sleep is the hardest.
Yeah.
And we did have about 5 or 6 breaks that we had 1 hour to break, and we changed our shoes and get some fueling, eat some beef jerkies and eggs, and we got through it and kept walking. And it was
Yeah.
big hill up the Mount Dandenongs in Melbourne.
Yeah, wow, what an incredible experience. And look,
Yeah.
you say a break of an hour. From experience, when even just in this backyard ultra, if it was even a 5
Mm,
break, getting up out of the chair and moving again after
yeah.
stopping when you're feeling like that is very hard to do. So
Yeah.
it's off
Yeah.
to you for being able to achieve that. That's enormous.
Yeah. Doing hard things makes you tougher, makes you harness the hardiness, make you more hardy.
Yeah, absolutely. It just puts things in perspective, I find. So it's for me doing these 5 marathons was a life-changing experience because as hard as it was, it put things in perspective that look, other parts of my life, it's like, oh, this is pretty hard, but it's like I've done harder. I think we're okay here. So
Yeah.
kind of just move the needle in terms of what do I actually find difficult now and what can I
Hmm.
cope with. So it's
Yeah.
definitely built some resilience in me, which is something that I'll definitely take away from doing it. That's for sure.
Great. That's amazing, Alex. What's your next thing? What are you going to do next? Any
So my
plans?
next thing, well, I'm hoping to build on the momentum of my backyard ultra. So I have actually signed up to do the ultra marathon in the Blue Mountains, the UTA.
Hmm.
So that's a
Okay.
100-kilometer event. And that'll be my
Wow.
first official ultra marathon. So,
Okay.
and as you said, the elevation in that is going to be another
Mm.
game to play altogether. I believe it finishes after 100 kilometers, you finish with 1,400 stairs. So
Mm.
that is going to be a tester. But like I
Oh
said,
my God. Yeah.
pursuing the hard things, I think, is where the real joy is and the real satisfaction. So I'm working up to that. That's in May next year, so May 2025.
Okay.
So I've got a bit of time now to prepare and work my way up to that. But again, that would just be another one I'd love to do. I intend to do it fasted for the whole thing. Again, because I am capturing a lot of data as we do all of this too.
Okay.
So it's another experiment to kind of
Yeah.
show. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that one.
Great. So amazing. So inspiring. I love it. I love the journey. Great. Have you got any last messages for our listeners?
Uh, Probably my closing message is that what I've done, I'm hoping can inspire people to look. I didn't do it to run marathons or show how to run marathons. That had absolutely nothing to do with it. So where I came from was being able to demonstrate the enormous amount of energy that we can all unlock that is already on our bodies. The way we can do that is simply following a low-carb ketogenic lifestyle. We can access that energy. And then what you do with that energy is entirely up to you. So look, if you're a working mum, you're working as an employee, you're working in your business, you've got life is busy for everybody. Who wouldn't want to have literally 50 times more energy in their day to be able to sort of, conquer their day? So my message is, look, is it real? Is it a real thing around being fat adapted and having more energy? What I did, I hope, demonstrate that yes, it absolutely is. And being a non-athlete myself and being able to achieve it, I think hopefully carries some weight to support that. Yep. But my main message is please look into becoming fat adapted and definitely adhering to a ketogenic lifestyle, because the benefits of more energy is just one of the many, as many of your listeners would understand. But it is a big one, and look, it's definitely worth, call it the commitment, because life is just so much brighter when you do have a boundless amount of energy in your day.
Great. And where can my listeners find you? You're
Sure.
pretty active on socials.
Yes, I am. So on socials, Instagram, I'm probably most active. My handle is at Keto Marathons. I also have a website, ketomarathons.com. If you head there, I do actually have all of my data that I captured around, blood sugar levels and, body composition before and after my bloods, all that sort of thing. So head there. I do have recaps about how I felt, some embarrassing videos and photos of me, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to learn more and about how I went about it and what it was like, my website is the best. But I am constantly posting on socials, on Insta, and also I am on X. My handle there is at keto_marathons. So on both of those platforms, please check me out. But I do have some more data coming out around, again, my backyard ultra, but just wanting to share kind of the benefits around being fat adapted.
Yeah, amazing. I love your journey. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for coming on to my podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I love the chat. Thank you so much.
All
Thank you. Thank you for all the listeners for paying attention and following on to my Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. As I always say, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. So thank you for listening in, and stay tuned for the next podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Before we wrap up, I have an exciting news to share. I have a new ebook called Low Carb Made Easy. It's now available. This guide is perfect for anyone looking to dive into the low carb lifestyle. Inside, you'll find the basic theory behind low carb eating, a detailed food list, practical meal plan, and a variety of delicious recipes. It's designed to make a journey to better health easier, simpler, and enjoyable. For those who prefer a hard copy, head over to my website and register your interest using the link provided. My website is www.mlcclinic.com.au. Head to online store. Remember, the information shared in this podcast, it's for educational purposes only and not proper medical advice. Always consult your medical professional before making any changes to your lifestyle and diet, or you can come and see me in Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on social media. Your feedback will help us improve and reach more listeners. Lastly, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends and family. Together, we can make a positive impact to our health and our communities. Thanks again for listening, and as always, stay healthy and happy. Until next time.